On to the Cleveland, by the way. We just mentioned Cleveland. Tony Grossi will be joining us on Friday, and the Shedeur Sanders conversation continues. I just saw on social media that he is officially in Browns country. He's reported to the facility, and we know that he had to wait a long time, almost 5 full rounds, until he heard his name called by the Cleveland Browns. He joins a group, and by the way, it didn't matter that he fell. Look at the top 10 best-selling jerseys from the 2025 NFL draft. He still finds himself in the top 3. Travis Hunter, of course, went 1, Cam Ward went 1, but I'm saying on this list, Travis Hunter is the first-ranked jersey seller, then Cam Ward, who went 1 to Tennessee, then Shedeur Sanders, so on and so forth throughout the draft. But Sarah, I know you and I and Kyle Brandt's words resonated with us. Kyle is a panelist and host on Good Morning Football, and his thoughts and really what became a rant on the aftermath of the Shedeur Sanders media saga that was this weekend. We appreciate it, and we're curious to get your guys' thoughts as well. Here's Kyle Brandt.
Over the weekends, this went from a football story to a drunken media story. It became one of these seismic media rodeos where you can sit there and watch people that you followed for years say things that you know they don't believe, or at best they were saying from some emotional place where they were so unhinged and off the reservation. I mean, I'm hearing things like conspiracy, collusion. What are you talking about? Do you know that video of you saying that to your phone? You know it's going out to the public, right? Aren't you embarrassed? Or are you just that happy to see the engagement being churned out by people clicking on the video of a circus clown screaming conspiracy theories? Do you not think that if one team thought Shedeur Sanders would help them win one more game than the other guy, that they wouldn't immediately draft him? They would. I promise you. These coaches, these GMs are obsessed, desperate, nomadic people who just want to win games and not move their families to another city after they're fired. It has become, this whole thing, one of these media events where the public discourse is so off-putting that it makes fans root against Shedeur just because they're so turned off by the way media members are screaming about him. It's sad and it's stupid. And when something is this far gone, like this story has been, onto planet Mars, this far into the ether, this so reckless in the commentary, you got to search for some simple truths, just a few simple footholds, okay? And here's where I come out. No teams loved Shedeur in the draft. Nobody loved him as a player. If anybody loved him, they would have drafted him way earlier. Maybe some liked him, but nobody loved him. And I think that if you were drafting a player, a guy to not be a starter, later rounds, you're not drafting this quarterback to be a starter, you're bringing him as a backup, I suspect that some teams didn't want the extra things that accompanied Shedeur. They didn't want the attention for a backup quarterback, the media for a backup quarterback, the huge megaphone that backup quarterback's father possesses and is not afraid to use. A starter? Sure, why not? We'll put up with it. But we don't love him as a player, so we're not going to draft him in round after round after round because all the other stuff for a backup, the juice is not worth the squeeze. I don't know if that is a bat bleep insane enough take to keep up with all the front runners talking about Shedeur right now, but that's my only practical reaction to what happened, and I hope that's enough.
Oh, it's enough for me. That summarizes it perfectly. I know there's going to be backlash to this. I already see the chat who's vehemently disagreeing with Kyle Brandt. You guys are all entitled to your opinions. But this got completely overblown and completely taken to a world, Sarah, that was just so hyperbolic, so outlandish, that it was actually hard to consume throughout the weekend. And Kyle's best point in all of that is when you have these established, respected media members with great influence, pushing collusion, pushing these narratives, yeah, it ends up actually working against Shedeur because you have this huge percentage of folks that are fans of the sport that ultimately, for whatever reason, start to actually turn against Shedeur because they're upset about the potential narratives and the anger that comes with it and the high emotion, hot button topic that this became. That was a refreshing take for me.
Yeah, you were saying people were starting to root against him. I was like, can the Ravens pick him up? Like, let's have the Ravens pick him up. Listen, when something weird is happening, I think oftentimes you can choose between two kind of buckets of what's going on. Either people are like in this case colluding, which implies corruption and like just deception and like kind of evil, kind of like intentions. Maybe evil's too strong of a word, but you know what I mean? Collusion implies corruption, all that kind of stuff. Or you can think a bunch of people are dumb for the decisions they're making. I think that NFL front offices think that they're better at evaluating quarterbacks than they actually are. And so I think it was a bunch of dumb decisions. That's where I lay with it. Because you look at Brock Purdy, who was Mr. Irrelevant. They were dumb and didn't see what he could become. Now, I'm not saying he's like the next GOAT, but he is now the franchise quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. The NFL did not see Tom Brady. It was dumb. The NFL didn't see Lamar Jackson until number 32 and took people like Rosen over Lamar Jackson. It was dumb. Patrick Mahomes didn't get selected until the second round. That was dumb. I think that the NFL thinks that they're better at drafting or analyzing quarterback play. I think they think they're better at it than they actually are, because we can name a bunch of busts that have happened over and over and over again with some of these top picks. So that's where I mostly go. And it's partly why we were having a debate Friday night, Bobby, that I don't put stock into the Steelers were being controlled by Aaron Rodgers or that the teams were like afraid of Deion Sanders. I think Kyle was right. I think it was the teams think that Shedeur is not a franchise quarterback. And therefore, that's why they're putting Aaron Rodgers, maybe the Steelers are putting Aaron Rodgers above Shedeur. Or then maybe Deion comes into play where it's like, well, I guess I don't want to deal with him if I don't think that Shedeur is my franchise quarterback. But if there's one thing I know, after covering and working in the NFL for 20 years, it is full of a bunch of dudes that want to win because their reputations, their money, and their jobs are on the line. I see players put their bodies on the line. I see them sacrificing. I see coaches sleeping at the facility and not, if they get sleep at all, they'll sleep on their couches. They'll sleep on their floors. They'll do whatever it takes. They sacrifice their family time. They sacrifice everything to succeed in this league. And I think that if they thought that Shedeur Sanders was going to be a franchise quarterback, they would have taken him. I think if the Steelers thought that Shedeur Sanders was a franchise quarterback, they would have said, peace out, Aaron Rodgers, and they would have gone with him. That is why I was having that argument with you Friday night, because now I think they're wrong, just like I think they were wrong about Lamar Jackson. They were wrong about Tom Brady. They were wrong about Tom Purdy. So I think that they made dumb decisions and they aren't seeing the talent that he could be. And you know what? Maybe I'm the one who ends up being wrong, but that's how I see it. I see a league who wants to win at all cases. Look at what the Ravens just did with Mike Green. With a history of Ray Rice and Justin Tucker and the sexual allegations. Now the Ravens put in their research, and according to them, they feel like they looked into the allegations and they feel confident in taking Mike Green. But they knew what people were going to say about him regardless, given what's going on with Justin Tucker and the history in Baltimore. They did it anyway because A, they think that, he clears, right? And B, they're willing to put that on the line because they think Mike Green can help them win. Teams will put up with almost anything if you think that they can help you win. That's where I think Kyle Brandt is right, but I also think that they're wrong on their analysis of Shedeur Sanders.
Well, it's precisely why this happened yesterday. Cleveland doesn't sign Deontay Johnson, given his most recent track record, if they don't think that he can somehow fill a role for them. Shedeur Sanders wasn't a first-round talent in the quarterback-needy team's eyes. It's as simple as that. And then he started to free fall. Was he a fifth-round talent? Probably not. I think we all agree that he was somewhere maybe day 2, and for whatever reason, whether it was the interview process that he totally disrespected, by the way, or the entire pre-draft process that perhaps he thought he was better than, he started to fall. The Deion impact is in there. I've been on record for talking about that as well. I feel like that was absolutely a part of the puzzle, especially for young coaches when it comes to the organizational structure and what happens when Deion Sanders and that dynamic personality and the icon that he is ends up in a franchise, even if it is by the extension of his son. Deontay Johnson is now going to Cleveland. As you see here, Mike Garafolo noted they're signing the veteran wide receiver. How many teams did you count out yesterday that he's been on since his time in Baltimore or since his time in Pittsburgh? There's a slew of them. So Cleveland does not do this if they don't feel like he can fill a role for them offensively. Teams didn't like Shedeur. They didn't love him. I guess they liked him. And ultimately, he free falls to the 5th round. The race card narrative, the collusion narrative, it's just it's so suffocating. I'm so sick of it. Why is there this need to push conspiracy theories? It's the draft. It's the National Football League. The NFL spoke, and now Shedeur has to acknowledge that, take it and run. And you wish the best for him from here on out. He's going to be a great underdog story. He went from being the opposite, Sarah, of an underdog to now he gets a chance to be the underdog in Cleveland. And it's going to be fun to watch. I wish the best for him.
I absolutely do. And then in the case of Deontay Johnson, just to keep going on that note, this is now over the last 14 months. Deontay Johnson has been with 5 different teams, 6 different movements because he was twice with Baltimore. So he's with the Steelers on March 11th of 2024, then with the Carolina Panthers on March 12th of 2024. Then mid-season of 2024, he goes to the Baltimore Ravens. Then at the end of 2024, he goes to the Texans. And at the end of the season of 2024, he comes back to the Baltimore Ravens. And here we are in April 2025, and he's going to the Cleveland Browns. And so once again, I use this meme that Jonas Schaefer also used, where, you've got two characters on TV saying, well, did it work for those people? No, it never does. I mean, these people somehow delude themselves into thinking it might, but it might work for us. So good luck to the Cleveland Browns. They have about 5 different quarterbacks, and I don't think they got, too much new wide receiver help. And so that may be why they went and got Deontay Johnson, try to see what he might be able to bring. And I'm sure they're seeing what everybody else saw, the talent. But I have a hard time thinking if Deontay Johnson couldn't be happy in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson, or he couldn't be happy with the Texans and, them being in the playoffs, I don't know if he's going to be happy with the Cleveland Browns, who win even less, and they don't know who their quarterback is going to be.
Another reason why Hard Knocks should be on its way to Cleveland right now, because they got another piece to the puzzle for what would be a highly entertaining series throughout this upcoming season. And we haven't even talked about the quarterback room this episode. We did earlier in the week. Well, I guess we talked about the quarterback room a little bit. Shedeur's going to be in it, but Flacco's going to be there. Pickett's going to be there. Who else is in there? Dylan Gabriel, their rookie. And, oh, by the way, Deshaun Watson's still under contract as well. The Steelers, sticking with the AFC North and wide receivers, are signing a veteran Robert Woods to a 1-year, $2 million deal. He's been floating around on these kind of contracts, Sarah, for the last several years. Don't think it's much of a needle-moving acquisition whatsoever. Rap Sheet refers to it as a new target and big-time locker room presence, which is kind of exactly what I was just getting at. I don't think he moves the needle on the field, but he's a respected veteran, got a ton of experience under his belt. And now he's on his way out of Houston to Pittsburgh.
I just like the way Ian Rappaport wrote this. He's like, a new target and big-time locker room presence for whoever their quarterback ends up being. Right. And by the way, and we'll talk more with Brooke Pryor about this, but I do believe the Steelers GM made it a point to say that, he made it a point that it probably is still going to be Aaron Rodgers. They still have hope for that.
Yeah.
They need that. They definitely need that.
Live chat is a hellhole right now.
Is
And
it?
all I'll say is this. Did I take one personal shot during my thoughts on the Shedeur Sanders conversation? The answer is no. The live chat should do the same thing. It's a simple debate. I know it's a hot button item, highly emotional for some. I get it. But the fact that it's just immediately you disagree and we got to go the personal shots route is just so it's so narrow-minded. Like, have an open mind. I'm listening to you. You guys listen to me if you want. And if not, disagree. But disagree respectfully. Come on, there should be more of that.
Yeah, I wish I could speak to it. I didn't see what they were saying.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
I mean, just to me, it's like either they colluded or they made a dumb decision. I'm going with they made a dumb decision.
I wish we could live in a world where there was more open-mindedness to conversation, because that's what you and I just had. It was a conversation. We shared our opinions based on what we've discussed and researched and observed over the course of the last few days. There is no agenda. It is genuine. That's what we always do inside this channel. And yet the live chat becomes it's just sad. It's honestly sad. Back to the super chats. We left off with Omni King. I'll let you pick up with Robert Smith.
Robert Smith says Washington will fill the strong safety role with Starks and free safety while Hamilton roams free. I don't think he's in too much trouble. I think what I'm saying is a bit more long-term in terms of he's not going to be signed long-term for the Ravens. That's where I think that hurts him. And the second thing is they won't have 3 safety sets all the time. And so last year he was one of the top 2. And so now you have 3, and in a contract year, you would like more opportunity. I think that Ardarius Washington is going to be on the field plenty, but not as much as last year, because I think when you only have 2, it's more likely to be Starks and Hamilton, your number 1 draft pick and your all-pro. And so when you hit 3 safety sets, for sure, Ardarius Washington is going to be in there. He's going to be in that rotation. And so I think that, but it won't be as big of an opportunity as he had at the end of last year, unless there's an injury, and hopefully there's not. And I think because it's a contract year, that less opportunity is going to make it harder for him to get paid, because he's got to prove to 31 other teams that his size doesn't matter, that he plays bigger than his size. And that's what we saw the last 8 weeks where he stayed healthy because he had been injured before. So I do think it takes a little bit of a hit, not as much as like Jalen Armour Davis, right? But not as big of an opportunity as he had last year.
Another one from Robert. He writes, that moment when Rich Eisen said, let's give Sanders his moment, but every QB drafted after Ward did not get to have their moment because the media glazed Shedeur. Here's one from Not a Fan.
He says, Johnny Football could do coke and party and go first overall, but Shedeur having confidence and a father with power, that's too much extra baggage. But again, that's, I think, at least my point, which is that if they felt like Shedeur Sanders was their future franchise quarterback, I think that they would have been fine with that. I know I would have been. This is what we argued about. That's why I said Dion is not a factor if they believe in him. Aaron Rodgers is not a factor if they believe in him. Those are only factors if they don't believe in him. Yeah, you're right. Johnny Football was like this partier, but they took him because they believed him. And that's where I think the decision is dumb. But football teams will put up with anything if they think that you're going to win them games.
Not a Fan and I got in a good back and forth about this topic over the weekend, and he actually called in too. Great guy. I thought it was a cool conversation. Maybe it'll continue after this. I don't agree with this comparison, this analogy, this reference that you're making. Shedeur disrespected the process. He botched the interviews. Go listen to the Todd McShay clip in terms of how his interview went with Brian Dable and the Giants. They gave him an install package. He was not prepared for it. They called him out about it, according to Todd's sources, and Shedeur didn't like it. He did the bare minimum in the interview. Then people start talking. The pre-draft process, he did it his way. A lot of times it's his way or the highway, and that's the way it's perceived when you look at Shedeur. I get it. I get this guy is as confident as you will ever see. And I think you need a percentage of that. You need that in your MO to get to the NFL level. But teams didn't like it. And the NFL spoke. That's what it was. The NFL spoke. Should he have fallen as far as he did? I think you and I disagree with the way that he free-falled. But in terms of the opening round and where he was projected to go by some, and how hyperbolic it became and overblown it became from a media craze standpoint, was just total. It took away from, it became unclear and disingenuous in terms of what his actual stock was because of the media hot button that he became. That's the way that I view it.
I'll just say this, Bobby. This is where we slightly differ, just slightly, respectfully, is like, I feel like you're putting more stock into interviews or Aaron Rodgers or Dion more than it needs to be. What I'm saying is, like,
you're right. You're right.
Because at the end of the day, if they believed that Shedeur Sanders was a franchise quarterback, those interviews would mean nothing. It would be like, well, we didn't love the interview, but man, he's going some places, and we'll deal with the interview and whatever. And so that's where, like, we kind of differ. Like a bad interview, if you believed in him, might knock you to the second round. It doesn't knock you to the fifth.
Agreed with that, but I think based on what. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, I just think you're putting too much stock in those other things, and so you're going into conspiracies a little bit too. It's just a different conspiracy. Like, yours is like Aaron Rodgers is controlling the Steelers, or they don't want to be with Dion, or the interviews were so bad. And it's like, no, all that stuff is secondary. At the end of the day, it's whether they think that they can win with him. That's it. Everything else is all just secondary.
To me, they all, even if they are secondary in terms of the film and the tape, they still hold merit in my eyes. We disagree on that. We've talked about this time and time again. But when you disrespect the interview process and it goes viral, according to McShay's report, in terms of the install package that's presented to you, and it's not just a traditional interview that you flunk, you actually come across as disinterested. That to me is more than just the traditional interview fail. That's like, how's this guy going to be in a locker room? How's this guy going to be at the NFL level? Does he care enough? Does he love football enough? And that's all I'm saying.
And I hear you, and I'm not saying it has zero merit. All I'm saying is that, in your mind, does that knock you from the first round to the fifth round?
A bad interview?
Yeah.
No, but that's
what I'm really getting at.
I know, but I'm talking about, yes, we're from a traditional interview standpoint, there's no chance that should knock you, right? If you're comfortable with the film, if you're comfortable with the player, of course not. But like I said, I think this was a different level of an interview failure. That's all I'm saying. I think this was a different level, the way in which he came across as disinterested, and then it was a trickle-down effect from there. That's all I'm saying. Olu, did I read this one? Okay, this is me. Olu says, I appreciate Kyle, but it's naive, meaning Kyle Brandt, but it's naive to think there was more to it than just talent. Every talent evaluated him at a high level, higher than every other quarterback in the draft after Cam Ward. It sprinkles on BS. Nuno.
He said, what a coach wants to draft Shedeur and put their job on the line. His father wants to coach him. That's why he fell. His father has a job. And again, I don't know. I just know a Deion Sanders. I know a Deion Sanders behind the cameras that's portrayed differently in front of the cameras. And so that's why I'm not buying into the Deion stuff. I mean, I'm sure their parents, obviously are, go hard for their kids and whatnot. But I think that Deion is super smart. And I think that he would, I don't think he would get in the way of his child's success. And I think that the NFL, at least I know the Baltimore Ravens, anybody that's interacted with them, is you can talk to him. He's a great guy. And so that's why I just don't put too much stock on the dad stuff personally, but maybe other teams don't know him well.
You guys know where I fall on it. And just in the sake of time, I can't keep going back and forth with the super chats, but Olu, this is yours.
Oh, he says, and I agree with Olu on this one. He goes, I actually have met Coach Prime, and he is nothing like they are painting him. Confidence and cocky is a slippery slope, Bobby. You're missing this one. Sarah, I agree with your take on this.
Drew says,
yeah, go ahead.
Drew says, most watched third day in history, Bobby. It was about the money, not race. Calm down, my boy. Laughing. Hashtag Vault. Hashtag DeGoat. Hashtag Baltimore Dogs. Viewership was through the roof for sure. And I'll take this one just because it's not a fan responding to me. Always love Bobby. Agree to disagree. That's all. Handshake for you. Steve. Is it Steve? Not a fan? Was this? Did you say your name was Steve over the weekend? It's hard for me to remember sometimes, but I think it was Steve. Appreciate the super chat, dude. Marcus Frazier.
He says all these draft scouts get their info from NFL scouts and executives. So if Sanders were one or two quarterbacks from beginning to end until the draft, what happened?
Liv B says,
I can only speak for the Ravens. The Ravens do their own drafting. They don't use anybody. They use their own system. They have their own analytics. They have their own scouts. So not all NFL teams use the same draft information.
Liv B, I feel like guys like Johnny Manziel with a similar attitude have left a bad taste. Teams being careful, I think. Maybe not enough to drop to the 5th, though. Mike M.
He says, Boomer said owners told their front offices to remove him from their boards. Some teams couldn't draft him even if they wanted. That's a certain level of, I think he's trying to say collusion there.
James Green says, just like a job in the real world, if you stink it up, you get one chance to make a good first impression. Appreciate all of you guys for chiming in there with super chats. Over 2,600 concurrents and a lot of comments are flying in. We appreciate the back and forth. Look, it's a good conversation. There is nothing personal about it. There is nothing agenda filled about it. Good conversation, Sarah.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Hope people feel the
same
way.
And I'm sure we'll have another conversation when Tony Grossi comes on Friday, because he's the Browns reporter. I'm going to be talking about the Browns draft on Friday with him.
There will be more. Yeah, there will be much more. Joseph, Hester, and Laura, thank you both for believing in what we're building. You guys give us a ton of support through Patreon on a monthly basis, and we really appreciate you guys. This is your monthly shout out. So patreon.com/RavensVault podcast if you're looking to also support. And you can also become a channel member as well. Actually, somebody just celebrated their 1 month, which meant that we owed them a shout out, and it was Nuno. Nuno Alves has been a channel member of ours for a month, and Kelly Harris at the top of the program became a new one as of today. So thank you both, and thanks to all of you for being with us. Over 2,600 concurrents as we close. Any other messages from you on the way out?
So I just wanted to clarify something, because I guess I misinterpreted one of the super chats where I said the Ravens do their own scouting, and so they're saying no, they're saying the TV analysts get their information from the scouts. And so I mean, I think they tried to. I think to build up their own reputation, they may put a little bit more emphasis on saying they know what people are thinking. Like, they make it sound like they know maybe more than they do. But I'll just say this, heading into it, I feel like the last couple of days before the draft, the media was starting to catch up a little bit. Like, before, it was always like, Shador in the first round, but then like right before the draft, I felt like Peter Schrager was like, I have no clue where he's going to go. He literally said, hey, I don't know what I'm doing with Shador. So he made this body language where he covered his eyes with his hand and threw a dart. He's like, because I have no idea what's going to happen with Shador. He's like, because I'm hearing things all over the place. And so I think that the media were catching up right before the first round started.
Yep. He was an enigma. Nobody had any idea. And he started falling and then falling and falling. And nobody saw that coming. Manuel's COD channel. What's up, Manny? We debating Shador instead of how our defense will wreck Burrow, the quarterback mess in Cleveland, and whack-a-mole Rudolph. That's a shame.
Yeah, we already did that. Well, that's what we led with, was Mike Green and Emery taking down Shamar Stewart. So we can have multiple conversations over an hour and 20 minutes.
Well, Manny's just using the whack-a-mole. This comment as an excuse to get his whack-a-mole phrase out there, because we all remember Mason and Miles being in it.
That's right.
Several years ago. And I have Horace Torres sends us out.
I have Torres says, Bobby, you said nothing wrong. I am not a fan of Dion or his sons, especially the cockiness.
They are acquired tastes, Torres. They are acquired tastes. But hey, Dion's won in every arena he's ever been in. And we'll see if his sons are able to do it. Lost in all the sauce is that Shiloh got picked up as an undrafted free agent.
By who? Tampa.
By Tampa. So congratulations to him. We'll see how this all shakes out. Everybody's fired up on this Tuesday, as am I. Great conversation. Good stuff. And if everybody wants me to apologize because you didn't like what I said, you ain't getting it. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. It's not, you don't get backed up against the wall, right, and forced to apologize because of an opinion. That's not how debate format works.
Okay.
The last time I checked.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out.
I agree with you. Here's a question I have for you. If you think you're wrong, you'll apologize, right? If you think you're wrong. I'm not saying in this situation, but you'll apologize if you think you're wrong. Like, you won't just not apologize to never apologize.
Oh, I would just correct myself. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's something,
if you feel it's warrant,
are you just talking about in debate in general?
I'm talking about in general. Yeah. If you feel like you said something wrong, you would like later apologize, but you're not going to do it just because people are demanding it from you.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah,
it's funny when you say apologize, it's as if it's something that, I would like, if apology is warranted, it would be an apology.
Yeah.
If a clarification was warranted, which I think is the better word,
sure.
that would of course be the case. Yeah. Which actually somebody just DM me. This is a perfect way to close out because we're always looking for feedback and we can get better. Some guy named Dan just DM me on Instagram and goes, yo, some constructive criticism. I've heard you say multiple times that Malachi Starks won multiple national championships at Georgia. He only won one as a freshman. That was news to me. I heard it from somewhere else and I should have done more research on that. So, or I think I read it somewhere else, which means whoever, and I, instead of looking it up, apparently he's a one-time national championship winner. So my apologies.
There you go.
Him a multi-time national championship winner.
There you go.
Appreciate you guys.
I just wanted to put that on that record for you because sometimes that can be misconstrued. Like, you're not digging your heels in just to dig your heels in. Like, if you feel like you're wrong, you would say so.
And then we got more super chats on
the there we go.
While we're doing this, we got another membership celebration. Ty2 Wavy just became a member for a month. So thank you, Ty2 Wavy, for being with us. We appreciate you. And Olu says, Bobby, you're super emotional, my guy. You're in a public opinion space. You're making a living here. LOL. What's your point? Super emotional about what? I don't know. I actually don't think I'm that emotional of a person. I think I'm definitely emotional internally, but I don't allow a lot of it to get external. But maybe it's coming across in a different way. Appreciate it.
You're giving a passionate debate. I like it.
I'm trying to put on my Sarah hat. Let's go. Here's the funny part. Now I'm you know what I'm gonna do?
There we go. Now let's get emotional, Bobby.
You guys ready for this? All right, let me get sat up in my chair for this. You ready for this? We'll close on this. 1:30, 90 minutes. What the frick are we doing? Okay. You ready for this? Now I'm running hot on this one.
There we go.
This is about our audience, whom I love and I appreciate and I cherish. So much of our audience constantly says, Bobby, you're bland. Bobby, you're compared to Sarah, you don't raise your voice. You don't care about anything. You're not passionate about the topics that you cover. And then I do it and I bring it and I put on my Sarah hat and I get rocked. I am emotional today. You know what?
We go.
Olu, you're correct, Olu. I'm emotional in this moment. You can't win out here. It's a lose-lose. What are we doing?
So Bobby, you're Bobby Ellison today. Bobby Sarah. Bobby Passion today.
I just can't. I mean, that now that I think about it, it's getting me worked up, right? Everybody's going, Bobby bland, Bobby this, Bobby that. And then I give it to you and I bring it.
Yeah.
And I'm getting rocked.
Yeah. No, I actually appreciate it because we've had this discussion offline because, like, I'll be like, hey, if you disagree, like, say it. You know what I mean? Because, like, it all stemmed from when we had that really, passionate Mark Andrews debate a couple weeks ago where, like, I feel like you finally, like, really voiced passionately how you disagreed with me. And I felt like the several episodes before you weren't doing that. And so I did. I encouraged you to be like, hey, when you disagree, say it, say it. And so I'm glad you're doing it. So obviously what comes with it, and the same thing when I'm passionate, then here's the thing. Here's the thing that I've learned about passion, because I don't know how not to be. When people agree with you, they love your passion and they, by extension, start to love you. But if you're passionate about a take that they hate, then they hate you and they hate your take, and they're going to meet that passion with passion. So You stepped it up. You brought more passion. And so maybe some of the comments were more passionate right back towards you.
To me, this is simple, right? It's
There
a
we go.
natural progression. You are a diehard fan of the team that you've worked for, the team that you've grown to love, the team that you have a Super Bowl ring for back in 2012. You are naturally going to have, when we cover this team year round daily, you are naturally going to have more opportunities. I've been on record for sharing unapologetically that I'm not a fan, but I really appreciate the opportunity to build around fandom because of our audience, to build a company that hopefully people appreciate. But I think naturally there are few and far between times where I feel really compelled to speak up the way that I did today with Shador,
Right.
the way that we did with Mark, right? It's not typically things that are revolving around fandom. So it's not that I don't have passion. I have it in me. I have it in me. I have it in me.
I
Believe
know
me.
you do.
But I'm not going to fabricate things for the good of a debate or for the purpose of a debate, because I think you guys would know it would feel watered down, and ultimately that would not be me being transparent.
No, and I love that. I just want to clarify one thing. I for sure do not hide my fandom for the Ravens. I remember for a minute there, I tried to be like other reporters and try to be, even keel and all that. And it doesn't matter because I work for the teams and I once collected checks from them. I no longer, and I haven't since 2018. And so so there's no point in me trying to like even pretend I don't root for the Ravens, because even when I tried to not, people would call me out anyway. So I'm like, forget this. I'm leaning all the way in. That being said, I think by you pointing out that I'm a fan, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like you're implying that they're going to agree with me more often. But how many times do people get angry over my Mark Andrews just because I'm my Mark Andrews take, right? Like, so I'm openly a fan, you are not, and yet you believe in Mark Andrews or have more trust in him than I do. So the fandom doesn't get in the way of that. Or today I had some pushback on my Ardarius Washington take, right? Even though I'm a fan of Ardarius Washington, I'm reading the tea leaves and I see something how it is. So even though I'm a fan, it doesn't mean that I don't get pushback, and it doesn't mean I don't say anything against what most fans believe. So I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, of course. And then at the same time goes back, there's a lot of people, our audience is growing. There's people in the live chat right now that haven't been a part of our past conversations about my fandom or lack thereof. And people are, some are taken aback by it right now in the chat. So look, I guess we need to reset every once in a while because we are growing. We are somebody that's a channel that is reaching new people on a monthly basis. So look, the bottom line is, and we got to go after this, is I began my career as a broadcaster. Sarah began hers as a writer and media member for the Ravens organization. And really, I guess technically as a PR intern when it all first started. So you kind of touched a bunch of different angles within the.
I was in the sales department for a year too.
There you have it, right? So you got to see it. You got to see it from all these different angles. I started my career with NBC Sports down in DC. I had a pursuit in mind of traditional media. I wanted to be a play-by-play broadcaster, a host, right? Somebody that could be a sideline reporter and do it all. And that's what I spent the majority of my 20s doing until I got an opportunity to be the lead post-game show host and analyst for the Ravens radio team. I went from DC to Baltimore. It was my first big break in the business. An awesome opportunity. I ran with it. And with that, my platform started to grow for Ravens and Ravens coverage and Baltimore sports coverage. And so when I was let go in 2022, you were one of the first people that I called when I made a decision after much reflection that maybe, just maybe,
to be exact, just to be clear.
I'm sorry.
I was your second call, just to be clear.
Rebecca and Ellison.
It's a running joke in the household. My husband, years before meeting me, had proposed to somebody else, and so my kids joke that I was number 2, and so we add this on top of it. Jeff Zrebeck was your first call. I was number 2. I don't mind being number 2. Keep going.
Jeff and Sarah and Jeff. That was, in my mind, it was like, let me have these conversations. But yes, we have a good spirited joke back and forth. And then once I realized the context of what it meant in your life, I actually thought it was really funny. So, so anyway, the long story short is I pivoted, decided to go full-time in the digital space rather than making a lateral move to 105.7 The Fan, rather than moving markets and just leaving and upheaving and just going. Yeah. And with that, my traditional media approach has stayed with me. Maybe one day I will get to the network level, but I'm not going to change or try to fabricate or water down my approach and fake to you guys that I'm a fan, because I'm not. I grew up in upstate New York. When I got into broadcasting, I stripped all of my sports loyalty, all New York sports across the board. Now I love sport. I love the coverage of sport. I love the business of sport, and I love the partnership of sport that you and I have had a chance to do.
We have a phenomenal partnership for sure.